Hello, gents. Today I'm going to do something that's been requested quite a few times. I do read your comments, and I've seen that a lot of you have asked to hear the stories behind all of my tattoos. I have quite a few, as you've probably noticed. I'll go through today as briefly as possible. I'll give you the story of each one. Most of my tattoos are on my arms. I have a few in other places, but I think what I'll do is I'll start at the top of my left arm, work down, then go to the bottom of my right arm and work up, and then hit the few other ones. So here we go. First one. This is the one that of all of my tattoos I'm probably most disappointed in how it turned out. That is Mount St. Helens, which erupted right before I was born. And I've also summited Mount St. Helens, which was quite an awesome thing. If you're one of my tens of faithful viewers, you've seen that video already. But it didn't really turn out well, at least from a distance. It kind of looks to me like there's a piece of bacon on my shoulder, which I actually really like. So it's either bacon or it's Mount St. Helens. This freedom tattoo, no good story behind this one. I just woke up with it one morning. I don't remember why I got that. But next, Pepsi, the greatest beverage known to man. Next to one of my favorite things to eat, bacon and eggs. So my favorite drink, my favorite eating. Next to that, the cross pistols of the Military Police Corps. I was in the Army for about 8 years, and I was an MP. Next to that, the mission patch of the Challenger mission, which exploded in 1985 when I was in kindergarten. That had a big impact on me. I remember it well, and I remember how I felt, and I've thought about it a lot ever since. So you have the mission patch with the names of the astronauts plus the teacher who died in that wreck. Over here is the state of Washington, which I currently reside in. I was born in Washington, and then I left, and then came back about 30 years later, and I live here again. Over here, grenade. I love throwing grenades. I got the chance to be a grenadier when I was in the Army for a short time. It was a blast. I loved it. Next to that, not if, but when. That's a reminder to me that disasters strike, and when they do, you should be prepared. I have a few preparedness and survival themed tattoos. That's one of them. Next to that, this is the Ford Pinto logo. I used to have a Ford Pinto, and I loved it. And next to that is the the Bronco 2 logo. So the two horse-themed cars of the three, I've never had a Mustang, but if I ever have a Mustang, I have a space here where I'll put the Mustang logo too and have all three of the horses. I have this Chinese dragon, kind of neat, whatever. The four symbols of Led Zeppelin 4, which was probably one of my favorite albums by one of my favorite artists of all time. Plus the symbols just look neat to me. Next to that, survival is simple, just don't die. Okay. Oh, and then I have this little cheat sheet here. This is the dates of my kids' birthdays and my anniversary. So I have that there so I won't ever forget them. I think that's my whole left arm. So let's go with the right arm. First off, a quotation on there. Impossible est un mot que l'on peut seulement trouver dans le dictionnaire des imbéciles. Which, of course, isn't English. That is French. I lived in France for a while. I love a lot of things about the French culture, but that quotation in English is, impossible is a word that one can find only in the dictionary of imbeciles. Now, if you know who said that quote, make a comment below and tell me. Don't cheat. I'm just curious to see who knew that quote. It's a quote that I love. I live by that quote. Life's a game. I think life's a game. Should be played. We have an M4 carbine here, which is in the configuration that I used when I was in Iraq. So that's a good silhouette of the gun that I held for a long time. Boise State Broncos. I'm a lifelong Broncos fan and a current student. Back here, this is Mannequin Piss. This is a little boy in Brussels. It's a statue. It's a fountain. He just pees constantly. And the people of Brussels, they sometimes dress him up, put costumes on him and stuff. It's a landmark that I really like. Which, speaking of boys peeing, I realized I missed one on my left arm. So let me go back to that for a second. Remember in the 90s, people used to always put these stickers on their cars of Calvin peeing on something they didn't like a brand of a car or something. So I really like Ford. So what I did is I took Calvin peeing on Ford, and then I made Calvin peeing on him. See what I did there? Pretty awesome. There. I think now I got all the tattoos from that arm. So back to the right arm again. You've got the A-Team van. I love that show. This one is kind of faint. Someday I'm going to get this one colored in a little better. But I'm proud of what this one represents, the Best for Last Club. I have visited all 50 states, and if you visit North Dakota for your last state, you're in the Best for Last Club. So I am. This Xterra tattoo, this is a running series. I do a lot of running, and this is a half marathon series that I used to do that I really loved, that inspired me to run a lot more. Another survival theme tattoo. You've got some fire building tools here, a bow, some chuck, some tinder. And right here, of course, the DeLorean. My favorite car of all time. If I could have any car, it would be a DeLorean. I think they're so awesome. Back here, I have, I almost forgot to mention, next to the Best for Last Club is the state of North Dakota, which was my 50th state, like I mentioned. So on the back of this arm is my 50th state, and on the back of this arm is my first state, Washington, North Dakota. Grim Reaper, he's just back there, he's haunting you, whatever. This is a painting, it's a Japanese painting, an old painting that I think is very beautiful and peaceful. It's called Night Snow at Kumbura. And it's also the cover of the Weezer album Pinkerton, which is another one of my very favorite all-time albums. I've listened to that so many times. Next to that is the American flag patch that's found on the uniform of the Army, which corresponds to where it was on my uniform when I was in the Army. What do we got? A koi fish up here on my shoulder. Pretty awesome. Of course, the Joel Nert symbol, my brand. I think that's all of them on both arms. So I just have a few others. Back of my calf, I mentioned to you that I lived in France and Belgium. So there's a French flag and a Belgian flag. I also spent quite a number of, a year in Iraq, but you don't see an Iraq tattoo on me because I didn't like Iraq. Maybe someday I'll add it. On the other calf, another survival theme tattoo and a pocket box tattoo. And I think that's pretty much every tattoo that I have, save one. The last one I'm not going to show you. It's a tattoo of Roy Orbison. But it's not for display today. So anyways, those are my tattoos. Now you know the story. Hopefully that was interesting. It's kind of like a biography of me. Now you know a lot more about me, hopefully. Do you have any tattoos? Tell me about them in the comments. And I'm curious to see if anybody knows off the top of their head the quotation here about impossible being a word of idiots. So, gents, thank you for watching today. Appreciate you being here. I appreciate that you watched all the way to the end. If you're still watching, thank you. We will see you soon, gents.